Okay, well, good morning. Welcome to Thinking Thursday, presented by the Kalispell Chamber of Commerce. Happy to have you here with us this morning on this wonderful program by Hagadone Media Montana about Pivot to Profit. We've had just such an unusual year this year with everything that's going on, and everybody's had to do a lot of new everything with our businesses, and so they're going to have a really great presentation about optimizing your business's online presence. A few quick housekeeping items before we get going. You'll see on your screen that there is a Q&A feature. It's either going to be at the top or the bottom of your screen. That Q&A will enable you to go ahead and type in questions, and we'll open it up. We'll answer questions toward the end of the program so that you can go ahead and put those in there. We're going to have a couple of polls, interactive polls this morning. When those pop up, you'll be able to respond and know that your questions and the polling is all anonymous too. So we really hope that you can participate in that. Well, without further ado, I'm going to introduce, we have Dylan Hooper, Anita Emerson, and Dorothy Meyer with Hagadone Media Montana, and their program here, Pivot to Profit. Dorothy and Anita, you can hop on.
Hi, I'm Dorothy Meyer, and this is Anita Emerson, and we are with Hagadone Media Montana as digital media consultants, and we want to welcome you today to our seminar, Pivot for Profit, where we hope to take you through some trends that are happening and provide you some tools that you can utilize in this new normal that we like to call that new normal. What do you think, Anita?
New normal. Yeah, thank you everybody who has joined. Thanks for spending your morning with us. You know, a lot has happened since the pandemic started. I'm sure I don't have to tell you, all of you guys, hats off to you. You have made some creative decisions with your business and changed route when you needed to. And along with that, there's been a lot of change in consumer behavior as well. As we were speaking, I realized that I needed to refill my phone. So I did that with the convenience of online shopping while I was waiting on Jen.
She really did.
Get this guy, I really did. So, lots happened. My mom always said, or quoted, I should say, necessity is the mother of all invention. And if one thing that this pandemic has done is it's taught us, some of us were already shopping online. Others were kind of reluctant, but with the lockdown and everything, it's taught us that we can still engage with our local businesses and brands that we want to connect with online. So I don't think I need to necessarily dive too much into the nuances of all this, as we have Dylan, who is our digital strategist. He's going to go over the best practices and consumer trends that we're seeing. And as we go through this webinar, just keep in mind, think about your own businesses, think about your customers and their journey, and how you can apply some of these tips to your own business as we head into the future. It's still uncertain times. 2020 has been anything but normal. So our goal is to make sure that you leave this webinar feeling empowered and like a sense of direction for your business. So yeah.
Without further ado, here's Dylan Hooper.
Dylan Hooper.
Amen.
Morning, everybody. All right, Jen, do you have those slides ready?
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and share them from my screen here. Hold on just a moment.
Okay, thanks. Hope everyone's morning's going good. So like Anita and Dorothy were saying, a big thing this year, I mean any year in general, but especially this year, is the need to adjust business as things come up. So we're going to kind of go over some of why you need to be able to kind of make the pivot to generate revenue for your business, and how to optimize your business's online presence to get the most out of kind of this new normal and just make the most out of it. So we'll go ahead and go on to the next one. Okay, so you've met Anita, you've met Dorothy. You've met me now. So we are with Hagadone Media Group. So a little bit about me. So I'm a digital marketing strategist. I've helped grow various businesses from all different kinds of industries, from e-commerce, manufacturing, hospitality and travel, service industry, just pretty much you name the industry. And I've worked with the business to help them grow their online performance in terms of that industry. Also, just kind of to make things a little personable, I am the owner of 3 high energy Huskies that you can see on the right. We've got Rexar on the left, Vala in the middle, and Lily on the right. That's a little dated picture. It's probably about a year old or a little bit bigger than that now. But so we'll go ahead and jump right into the presentation here, starting with the first poll, just so we can get a little bit of information about you guys and see where things lie in terms of whether or not you're currently marketing your business online.
And Dylan will give this just a few seconds here to let everybody jump on.
Give everyone an opportunity to give a little input here. All right, so it looks like about 80% of you guys are currently marketing your business online, and then about 20% not currently marketing a business online. So we're gonna kind of jump in here, and the first thing that I want to talk about is really the digital shift. So if you're not marketing your business online, as we kind of move through these, I just want to encourage you to kind of think about maybe some steps that you can take in order to really get the best out of that. And just looking at the stats here, what is going to be best for your business. So starting off here, obviously there's been a shift in digital. I mean, if you look in, you look into the past, we didn't used to have things like Amazon or Google Shopping or any of that. So there's been a huge shift in terms of how consumers react with businesses. So just kind of some stat points here. I know a lot of people might not like very specific stats, but they're important in terms of making overall decisions. So looking at it, there's about 1.8 billion people worldwide purchasing goods online. That's a huge net of people. And then in terms of actual brand interaction, 63% of all shopping, whether it's purchasing a product or even just purchasing a service, if you're in an industry that offers services to your consumers, that shopping or even just kind of lead interaction typically starts online, whether it's through looking at reviews or checking out your social media profile to even find what your hours are. There's usually some sort of interaction that the consumer has before they end up making the purchase. And from what we can see with statistics, it's about the 63%. And then as you can kind of see on the bottom, that's just a overall trend on kind of online performance versus in-store interactions. So as you can see, e-commerce and just online generation is kind of skyrocketing, whereas department store sales. So if you are able to leverage both of those and kind of make them work together, you're going to be seeing much better results overall. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide here. So like I kind of talked about, shopping starts with digital with the 63%. So there's a lot of different ways in which it can start with digital, whether it's going to be the reviews, they see a post on their social media. So a big thing is digital provides you the opportunity to get in front of your consumers where they're spending most of their time. So the average of us spends about 6 to 7 hours per day on just the internet in general. So whether we're, browsing Amazon, just browsing news sites, spending time on social media, looking up for reviews for businesses that we want to know more about, we're spending a lot of time on digital. And by leveraging some of these tactics and strategies that I'm going to go over with you all today, that helps you get in front of your users where they're spending time and kind of keeping on top of mind, but also help push them through the customer funnel and get the most out of those interactions. And as you can see here, and just kind of in the bottom, that 88% with the digital and research. So 88% of consumers are going to research your products or services before they make that decision, whether that's through the reviews or even, if you're leveraging a blog. So say if you're an HVAC company or really just any service, any product, like people want to know more. So you can maybe have a blog going where you're giving people information about why does my drain smell in my house, and then that kind of funnels down the line into them wanting to make that purchase, or recognizing even that they need to sign up for a service maybe they didn't know before, and you can kind of help educate them and put the decisions in their hands. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide there. So here's just kind of some to back up some of that. This is basically research that people do for products and services, and what percentage of internet users are using social media to look for more information, to get that information that they want to know before moving forward. So if you're just kind of putting this in just perspective, and we'll get into this a little bit more, but the concern here is really if you're not leveraging these, not so much if you are. If you are, you have the information to your customers. But if you're not leveraging this information, you could easily be missing out on this percentage of internet users that you're seeing right here that maybe want to move further on with you, but don't have the information that they need to do so, or to feel comfortable doing so. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide here. So looking at this, we talked about kind of how e-commerce is growing so quickly, but we didn't really talk about why. So one of the things here is mobile access. So I don't know, just kind of think to yourself, obviously most of us here have a smartphone. I would kind of be surprised if we didn't all have smartphones here. Think to yourself if you know anyone who doesn't, and kind of what that percentage is. We almost all, it's come to be not just a luxury, but a requirement in everyday life. So we have the accessibility for shopping and information at our fingertips. And like I was talking about earlier, if you're out and about, you're walking down the street with a friend and you want to go out and get something to eat, you don't have to just randomly decide which restaurant you're going to walk into. You basically look it up on your phone and you kind of filter by maybe what cuisine you're kind of deciding and kind of things like that. And you have the information basically right there like that to make that informed decision on where you want to proceed. Another thing in terms of why online business is growing so rapidly is what we call omnichannel marketing. So it's what omnichannel marketing is basically just having such a vast array of places that you can get in front of your customers. So like I kind of mentioned earlier, You've got social media where people are going to be doing research. You've got email marketing, so you can actually target existing customers and help bring them in that way as well. You've got customer interactions online, so if someone's asking a question, like you can be there to answer and kind of help guide them. You've got Google Ads, you've got search engine optimization. So it's a wide array of different strategies and kind of opportunities in digital marketing that can be utilized to really be in front of your consumers everywhere that they are online. And by having that out there, you're going to get the most return. And you have those you've got those campaigns and strategies, and they all kind of work together. So if you think about it, if someone's doing research, maybe they're going to run across a blog post. Maybe they're going to read that blog post and they're like, hey, a light turns on their head, and they go from that to maybe I need to look into this more, where they start looking at reviews, maybe looking at Yelp, looking at Facebook reviews, and then they move from that point and they're like, okay, I'm ready to pull the trigger, and then they see a Google ad, and it all works together. And there's this thing that we like to call the rule of 7, and essentially what that is it, on average, just kind of on a psychological basis, it takes 7 interactions with your brand before a user decides to buy. So by having this omni-channel marketing experience, you're more likely to hit those 7 interactions by being everywhere that the consumer is. Finally, or not finally, but next, it's just overall convenient in terms of online business growth. So I don't know how many of you throughout COVID-19 didn't really want to go into the stores. So maybe you do curbside pickup. A big thing now too is food delivery. I mean, it was somewhat a thing beforehand, but then after COVID hit, it just kind of blew up. You went from maybe just Uber Eats to Uber Eats, DoorDash. And I honestly don't even know that I could count them all. And then, so basically with the convenience, there's accessibility to whatever the consumer wants or needs. And then it gives them the ability to compare the offerings that they're interested in. So maybe they're online, they want to buy a new pair of shoes, or, maybe they need work on their car. They can check online and basically do everything that they need to do to find the best deals or something that fits them better, basically, in order to get what they want out of it. And then it's easier to locate really what they're interested in. So instead of going through a shopping mall and spending 3 or 4 hours trying to find what they want, they type in one search to Google and can make the decision from that point, rather than having to visit 6 different stores. And then with the greater range of offerings, one thing that to kind of think of here is, since they can just make that search super quick, and since they can make that search really quick, they get, when you Google something, you get hundreds of results. So and even on Amazon or whatever you're getting hundreds of results to choose from, and then, they get to choose what they want to go with. It really puts the choice in the consumer's hands. So one thing to kind of think of with that is leveraging digital, getting in front of them where they're making those searches, but also while you're leveraging that, giving them kind of that value proposition on why they should go with you. And I'll get into it a little bit later, but a lot of consumers are actually pulling away from big brand names and wanting to shop local. It's just getting in front of them on digital so that they want to go with you even more, so that you're offering that convenience. And we'll get into the brand loyalty kind of thing later on. And then another thing is just individualized products and services. So on Amazon, you're going to see, recommended products. So like viewers also who bought this also liked type things. So you get with the digital avenue, you get to go into cool things like that, where you're boosting conversion rate, because you're showing the customer exactly what they're interested in. And this doesn't just tie in for e-commerce, but also for like service businesses and anything of that nature as well. You're also getting into things like just digital targeting. So instead of blasting targeting out there, you're kind of individualizing it to the consumer, so that, based off like search retargeting, things like that, so that they're really getting what they're interested in. And let's go ahead and go on to the next slide here. Okay, so current state of digital. One thing that's super important to notice here is nearly 50% are shopping more on mobile than they are in store. So getting that digital presence opens you up to basically double the customers, because if 50% are shopping more on mobile and you're not targeting those right now, or you are targeting those right now, but maybe you need to do a little bit to make your website or just overall digital presence more mobile friendly, then you could potentially be missing out on half of your customer base. And then shopping beginning online. Once again, 63% of shopping begins online. I didn't necessarily want to throw that in there twice, but I thought it was way too important not to, because with 63%, if you don't have some sort of digital presence, whether it be your social media, a website, or so on and so forth, then there's potentially you're only getting, 37% of what you really could be getting. And then how often are online shoppers shopping online? You've got 62%. Basically what this just means is if you've got that digital presence, you're going to see a lot of recurring like loyalty and consumers. So I'll go ahead and jump on to the next one here. All right, so getting into the fun stuff, going over kind of what we're seeing in terms of changes with COVID-19, because obviously kind of what we've went over up to this point is digital growth that's been happening, but with COVID-19, we've seen a huge spike in just kind of setting fire to the tinder or the Kindle there. So one thing I want to go over here is just kind of looking at these charts, just the growth that we've seen in online presence and consumerism. So whether it be information, news, videos, the thing is now people are just spending way more time online than they were before, and you can kind of see that in the bottom right. But whether they're doing things on YouTube, which you can target via display advertising or video advertising, you've got things like Netflix, Hulu. Hulu's actually opening up advertising. They're in beta right now, but they're working on small business advertising, and then you've got things like, as you can see down here in the bottom left, daily interlink growth. So with people spending more time online, you've got a larger pool that you can utilize to get the most out of and get in front of people more because they're spending more time online. It was actually so bad that YouTube had to reduce video quality in order to keep performing. So we'll go ahead and go on to the next one here. So one of the things is digital sales here. Obviously, we all want to see return on everything we do So with the digital sales, they've grown 18% from Q1 of 2020 to from Q1 of 2019 to Q1 of 2020. So 18% growth year over year. That's pretty good, right? Well, one thing that we also want to add in there is desktop traffic is up because people are working from home. Kids are from home from school in some areas. Now it's kind of starting to reopen, but people are spending more time on desktop as well as on mobile. But desktop can actually attribute to higher conversion rates. So typically you're going to see about 100% higher conversion rate from desktop than you would mobile. So this kind of opens that up. And then another kind of side thing here is with a lot of interactions, since they're interacting with your business up to 7 times or more beforehand, maybe they're going to do their research on their mobile device, but then actually come and make the purchase from desktop. All right, let's go ahead and go on to the next one. So here's just kind of a quick overview of e-commerce sales across a variety of industries, and just kind of shows the internet growth throughout the times, not even just e-commerce, but there's growth in terms of, maybe HVAC, auto sales. Right here, the auto sales, and that's for like accessories and stuff, is a little bit down, but you look at industries such as the RV industry is through the roof right now because people aren't able to fly. So what do they do instead? They drive it. And whether or not they feel their car is comfortable enough, they go out and buy an RV or a new vehicle and kind of go from there. But for the majority, all of the industries are seeing digital growth. So let's go ahead and go on from there. Customer loyalty, this is a super fun one. So a big thing with customer loyalty, like people typically stick with a brand that they're used to because they know what the quality is, they like the product, they like the service, especially. Like service is a big thing in terms of customer loyalty. Like did you treat them well? Was the overall experience pleasurable? Well, one thing that statisticians and analysts have found throughout COVID-19 is actually that 75% of consumers are opting out of shopping these big brands like Nike and Adidas, things like that. And they're kind of there's been a big shift in terms of shopping local. And that's why it's so important that local businesses be stepping up and really giving the consumers like that convenience, that accessibility, everything that they're looking for, so that they can capitalize on this shift of brand loyalty and really maintain it, now and after COVID kind of subsides. So with one thing to consider too, with loyalty is just overall people they're willing to spend more if they're loyal with your brand, and they're more likely to convert. But how do you do that? You need to kind of ask yourself if you're doing these few things with your business. Do you have customer engagement activities? Are you running fun events through your social media profile? Do you have events where people can sign up, maybe come in, maybe you have like a dinner thing or like a product or service giveaway, or even just win $25 off this next service thing. Things like that really can provide a great experience and make the customers and consumers feel engaged with your business. So if you're not doing that right now, I highly encourage you to kind of look into how you might provide engagement with your community and consumers. And then there's offering virtual services. A great example of this would be, I've seen a lot of gyms and so on offering like virtual virtual classes for workouts and whatnot. And though that might not tie into memberships right now, it really builds that kind of loyalty. If someone enjoys your online classes, when all this is said and done, you know, the likelihood of them converting with you, and you know, if you're a gym, like signing up later down the line when they are comfortable actually going in, is much higher. So any type of service that you have right now, if you're a restaurant offering curbside delivery, things like that, anything that you can offer now will really tie into developing new customer growth post COVID. And then we kind of talked about the omni-channel, just making sure that you're everywhere that they want you to be, and really putting it in their hands to get in touch with you. Kind of having that more inbound methodology, and making sure that when they have a question, when they want to purchase a product, like you're there for them and they can easily find you and get what they need out of it. Things like customer loyalty programs. So, you know, if they sign up, then after so many purchases, maybe they get $10 off, things like that. Coffee shops are a great example of this, with like the little punch cards. Whenever you buy a coffee, and then, you know, you get so many punches and you get a free one. People love that, and they will continue to shop with a brand because of things like that. And then just one big thing that a lot of companies and businesses don't really keep up to par with is engaging with unsatisfied customers to help solve their issues. So no one likes to go and look at a business and that they're wanting to do business with and looking at these, you know, a multitude of negative reviews. Obviously, if it's just like one or two, you're like, okay, maybe that person was just having a bad day. I can't really put my faith in what they had to say unless it's very specific. And you're like, okay, maybe that did happen. But engaging with unsatisfied customers and solving those issues not only can turn them from kind of an anti-brand advocate into a brand advocate. Like it goes leaps and bounds into showing what you're willing to do for your customer, and it translates throughout, you know, Yelp, Facebook, and Google My Business, so on and so forth. So that's super, super critical in the digital world. So let's go ahead and go on. So on to poll number 2, how has your marketing changed? So I'll just give you guys a little bit to kind of think about the previous stuff and answer here in terms of things that you've been doing or changed due to COVID and or just in general.
Dylan will give this probably about another 10, 15 seconds or so, and for everyone, so you can hop on and make your selections, and we'll share those in just a moment.
Give it just all right. So it looks here like a lot of you have made the switch recently in terms of marketing change, which is fantastic with the doing digital marketing. I hope kind of going over some of this will give you guys maybe some ideas on where you're not venturing that you can venture into, and really getting the most out of that switch. I mean, that's what today's all about, is really making that pivot to see the most return there. It looks like right now it's kind of a 50-50 split between increase and decrease budget. So we'll kind of talk about that. I'll get into that a little bit more here. And then looks like some of you are doing traditional that might not have been previously. So let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. So post-pandemic, what to expect. Obviously, the pandemic's kind of changed the way things work. But as terms of where that's going in the future, most people, in terms of digital growth, and analysts have kind of looked at it, and it was already heading in the direction that it is now in terms of performance and just kind of the spike that we've seen. But that's not expected to go anywhere because it was already headed in that direction. This just basically lit the fire. And kind of like we talked about earlier, just with the convenience for the consumer and everything like that, it's expected to stay. Things like curbside delivery or contactless delivery, people kind of expect that to stay. So let's go ahead and go on to the next one. So some of the new habits that we want to take into mind are, well, first off, humans are creatures of habit. We develop these behaviors, and whether good or bad, once we kind of develop these behaviors, they tend to stick around. So one of the things with spending more time online, that's going to stick around. People are going to continue to spend time online. They've already got their subscription services. They kind of get caught in that trend, I guess, of like, okay, go home, do this, do that. They develop a routine. Now that certain things are within that routine, they're going to stick around. But with spending more time online, people are going to have more noticeable frustrations. And what that kind of means for you as a business that I want you to take into account is the experience that you're giving the customer up to par? Are there any like friction or frustration points? Does your checkout operate flawlessly? Are there any hiccups that they might run into that? Like maybe some forms that aren't working properly. But a big thing too is like website navigation. Like, can they get to that information that they want quickly? Do you have all the information out there everywhere in terms of like Facebook, Yelp? Is there any misinformation that might, if they call the number, are they going to get some other business down the street because, maybe you didn't set that account up at one point in time, and things like that. And so that kind of ties into winning customers' time with a great experience is kind of the opposite side of the spectrum there. And then another thing is consumers expect kind of real-time communication through chat. I don't know about you guys, but I know for me personally, as we were kind of working through COVID-19, if I wanted to go out to dinner or whatnot, like I didn't know if the business was open, so you'd get to kind of messaging them on Facebook or things like that, where people, and I'm not going to just sit around for 2 hours to decide if I'm going to go to a restaurant. Or another kind of experience is service. As far as like the service industry goes, people's pipes don't stop bursting. There's still fire hazards that need to be fixed, things like that. They're like that doesn't take a sideline, but people expect a quick reaction because they're worried or they want to make a decision. So by offering, like by messaging them quickly on Facebook or doing any of those other things to help get them the messages that they need, they really take that to heart in terms of continuing with you. And then brand loyalty is becoming increasingly difficult to keep, mostly for bigger brands. But if you can do those things that I kind of mentioned earlier, you'll capitalize on that, because you'll not only be keeping your brand loyalty, but you'll also kind of be taking in some from the competition. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So one thing I want to make a point of here is this is focusing on customers essentially planning to purchase more online, even post-COVID. So this just reaffirms pretty much everywhere that's blue, and you can see every single industry for the US is blue, like people are planning to make more purchases online post-COVID. And that's not even necessarily like they don't feel comfortable going into a business or or whatnot. It's just the sheer convenience. And just because they're making the purchase online doesn't mean they're not willing to go into your store, but they might want some of those offerings, such as curbside delivery, that you're seeing with big box stores like Walmart or Target, or honestly even local restaurants are kind of jumping on the curbside delivery. So just being able to offer that experience, and capitalize on this want for consumers to purchase more online. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next one here. So with that in mind, holiday shopping's coming up. I don't know about you guys, but typically holiday shopping is, it's a big part of the year in terms of just marketing in general, whether it is for, products or services, or, financial. There's a lot that goes into the holiday shopping. That's a big part of really just our economy in general. So, you've got people renting cars, you've got to go visit their family, they need mechanic work done, they're making a lot of purchases at stores for gifts. That's not even necessarily gifts for them, so you kind of get to capitalize on a variety. Like it kind of grows your customer base in a sense too, because they're not just shopping for themselves now, they're also shopping for family and friends and so on and so forth. But big thing is 64 days away from today is Black Friday. So if you guys haven't been thinking about that yet, you probably want to start moving in that direction. 64 days may seem like a ways away, but it goes quick, I promise you. And so Black Friday, one thing I do want to speak to about that is a lot of big box stores have actually said they're going to be closed for Black Friday, so that does lower competition. So jumping on kind of that digital and just marketing train in general for the holiday shopping season that's coming up is going to be critical. You've got both Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and even the days in between. People are just primed to buy, and they're ready to jump into that. So anything that you can do for the holiday year, you can offer gift cards, even if you don't necessarily you can offer kind of just general promos. Maybe if you don't have a product that you sell, maybe you're in the service industry, like promos, rebates, things like that really, really go a long way to make the most out of this holiday year. So. And then another thing too is less than 30% of customers actually felt comfortable returning to stores. So I'll just kind of reiterate some of those things like curbside delivery, things like that. So succeeding in a post-pandemic market, kind of adopting that all-market approach is crucial. So really, like I said before, be everywhere that your customers want you to be, that you're able to get, that is relevant to your business, and keep your messaging consistent across all those platforms. That's really, really critical for them to for brand recognition, for them to remember you and stay top of mind. And then showing community support, kind of how we talked about before. People want to shop local, so if you're showing that support to your community, you're going to be getting leveraging that want for people to shop local, and they're more likely to come to you. And then we get into analyzing and adjusting campaigns based on valuable insights, and I'm kind of going to get into some of the advantages that digital marketing has to offer. But first, let's go ahead and start with this poll here. So how are you leveraging online presence for more revenue? So kind of what areas, as I go through these points and topics, what areas are you really leveraging for your business? And maybe just kind of keep in mind what areas you're not, that you can move in towards. So we'll go ahead and get this poll up here so you guys can answer it. I'll give you a few moments to do that here. And for a lot of you guys, I know this might seem, it seems like a lot, and I promise you there's a lot that you can get into in terms of benefiting your business, but it's also, you get what you put into it in terms of your business. So like making sure that you have a great product and things is just kind of typical business stuff that you would do because it's important. Well, this is equally as important to kind of make sure that you're working with your customers and being where they want to find you. But if you're not there for them to find you, then you kind of miss out. So it seems like a lot, but it's also super important is kind of what I'm getting at. So it looks like right here, as far as online presence goes, a lot of you guys are diving into social media, which is fantastic. That's great customer engagement. And then maybe some of you might want to look more also into the lines of, leveraging an email list, getting those return customers back. Right now, about 60% of you guys are leveraging that email marketing. But then also things like PPC, I'm not seeing a whole lot of that there. So that's a great opportunity to kind of dive into with display advertising online, where people are spending, out of 7 hours of the day, that's a lot of time that you have to get in front of people. And then things like SEO, so that you're just showing up whenever they're searching right there on the spot. So let's go ahead and go into the next one. So leveraging digital for success. There's a lot of advantages to digital marketing, but kind of the 4 that I'm going to focus on real quick here are the measurability of it, the targeting options, kind of change as you go, the ability to adjust campaigns to really get the most out of them, and then the ability to improve your conversion rate and kind of how important that is. So let's go ahead and jump into measuring campaign performance here. So measuring campaign performance, one of the things that a lot of people kind of get wrong is how do you measure your campaigns. So with digital marketing, the measuring your campaign performance to get valuable insights and make the strategies to move forward is by far the largest benefit. So you've got things in terms of measuring. If you're running a campaign for like brand awareness, you might be looking at things like impressions. So if you're, maybe display advertising, it would be kind of a brand awareness thing. So how many impressions are you getting throughout? Let's just kind of use an example here. If you're running display ads on kind of like a local news website and so on and so forth. And then you're getting into customer engagement. So things like likes, shares, comments on a social media platform would be great examples of customer engagement. Did you post something funny that people really, really enjoyed? Are you getting a lot of comments on it? Are you running a promo that they really like? And so on and so forth. So. And then you get into, obviously, if you're running one specifically for purchases, you might be focusing just specifically on transactions or maybe like lead generation, phone calls. And then in terms of building a customer base, you're going to be looking at things like social followers because those stick around and you can use those to market on later in the future along with email marketing. And then you've got service leads. If you're looking specifically for leads, you might be looking at kind of phone calls or form fills as the targeting metric that you're using to gauge performance. So all of these kind of show you where you need to venture, what dollars do best, what new things to venture into, and where to shift your efforts. So they really help a lot there. So campaign targeting, we'll just let you guys kind of look at the targeting there on the left, and the big thing, like I said earlier, is digital marketing allows you specific targeting, so you get to show up for whoever's interested. It's not you're not walking around trying to just catch any fish that's out there. You're not throwing a giant net. You're very specific. If you want to get the most out of it, you're going to be very specific in terms of your segmentation. So, what age performs best for your business, what interests or kind of lifestyle do they have, and digital marketing allows you to do all of that. You can set up audiences, you can kind of go based off of those. Maybe if you're a gym, you're focused on a specific age range, but probably from 20 to maybe 65. And then you're looking at people with a lifestyle that are interested in like general health, that are interested in certain things, and digital marketing allows you to really take that and then make the most of it. And then obviously you've got geographic location, so you can target kind of based off of where they are. If you're looking at shipping out products nationally, like, you can do that. You don't have to. But then at the same time, if you only offer a service to, if you're like a delivery service or something, you only offer it to people within 2-mile radius of where you are, then you can do that too. So it really gives you that variety to dive into to make the most of your marketing dollars and hit the people that are more likely. You're going to get those higher quality leads, but also you're really just going to get the most out of it if you have your targeting set up properly. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one here. So change as you go. One of the things that digital offers that maybe other forms of marketing might not, it's super important, especially during kind of uncertain times like now, where you don't know, if maybe, say something gets passed through like the House or Senate or whatnot that affects you personally. I don't think there's anything out there right now, but it could happen at any point in time. But with digital marketing, you can change those campaigns as you go. It's not just necessarily like you've committed to it, a campaign's running, got to stick with it type thing. It really gives you that flexibility, not only if something critical, like maybe people can't dine in at restaurants, like something like that. It's not even necessarily along those lines, but also just like, hey, this campaign maybe isn't performing as well as I would like it to. Can we dial that back, or maybe push it up a little bit and see if we get more impressions and so on and so forth out of this? So digital marketing really just gives you that flexibility that you need to make sure that everything's performing, and you're ready for any step of the way throughout that. So let's go ahead and go on to the next one here. And then improving conversion rate. So I'm just going to kind of give a generalization of this. So with the conversion rate, digital allows you to kind of make tweaks to the funnel, because you're in control of, and you get all the analytics and everything out of it. You can see, how are people coming to my business? What kind of touch points do they hit on the way? Is it a referral from Facebook? Is it coming from Yelp? So you can kind of go in and manage that information and make sure that people are kind of hitting your website as they intend. You don't necessarily want just a bunch of kind of low level in terms of quality traffic. You want people that are coming to your website with matching the intent that they had. So as far as like your messaging goes, like you want that to match what you expect from the customer, and they kind of expect the same thing in return. They want the information kind of up front. Like it doesn't have to be very explicit, but it at least needs to kind of match their intent. So you know, if you're running like an HVAC service thing, you don't want to be like, you don't want to have something that has nothing to do with your business, where it's like, you don't want your messaging to be like live comfortably, just like random. Like obviously you're going to have imagery behind it that shows someone working on like an AC unit or something. And that kind of gives the messaging, they know what they're in for. And then they jump in there and they're not like, whoa, I was not expecting to be here, and then just leave the website. They're like, they have an idea up front of what they're getting into. So, and just kind of doing things like that, making sure that the navigation through the site, the checkout, they know where they can contact you, things like that will really boost your conversion rate. And then just making sure that everything looks well. Like we're getting to a day and age where digital's been out there for a while, so you can tell the difference between a website that was just made last week and a website that was, you know, that's been there for a couple decades. Like there's a huge difference, and the ones that are kind of newer are using the newer modernized kind of opportunities that people are getting used to and they expect more. And you're also going to just see higher conversion rate because it's more appealing, I guess. And people like that. They like the image that gives them as they're kind of browsing through. So let's go ahead and jump on to the next one. So considering competition, one thing with COVID-19 that has made a huge change is, obviously we talked about the spike in users. A lot more people are online and so on and so forth. But as we're kind of going through this, there's also a lot more opportunity with that and less competition because you're seeing some of those big brands lose out. So there's just more customer potential, and we're actually seeing lower cost for marketing efforts right now in terms of generating leads and sales during COVID-19. So we'll go ahead and go on to the next one here. So just kind of to go over right here, once you do capture those leads through digital, it also, like, you're able to retain and delight. And essentially what we mean by that is with retaining and delighting, like, it's not done once you make the sale. You don't just make the sale, provide the product or service, and it's like, okay, that's where the line ends. That's not the case. You've got, by offering that great experience and kind of delighting the customer with, you know, like special offerings and fostering that relationship, you gain repeat customers, and the customer lifetime value is more than just one sale. It's, you know, word of mouth from that point, getting them to come back at that point through email marketing, things like that. So it's a lot more valuable than some companies might put into it. So kind of one of the things, and then another thing huge with digital is going to be the reviews that you get from that customer. So when it comes down to it, I'll just kind of pull this one out of here on the right. And so 84% of people trust online reviews just as much as they trust a personal recommendation. So you guys think, like, everyone thinks that word of mouth marketing is super critical, because it is. This is just as critical as word of mouth marketing in general, is getting those reviews. And by delighting that customer, you're more likely to get those good reviews that will turn into other customers down the line. And I believe the next slide we're going to kind of go into, ask and refer reviews. So with those reviews being so critical, getting them is just as critical. And you don't necessarily just do that by retaining and delighting, because we all kind of know that people are a lot more likely to review, and it's kind of the sad truth, but they're a lot more likely to review if they're upset than if they're happy. But that's because a lot of people don't ask. There's a survey ran, and I think it was about 80% of people that are asked to, in some way, shape, or form, for a review on a website, whether it be like on the invoice or just in person over the phone. There's so many of these ways, and you can see them all right here on the right, but there's so many ways that you can ask for reviews online. And just by asking, about 80% of those will provide it. It doesn't take them much time. You know, we've all got our mobile phones, it's right there. It takes them maybe 4 or 5 seconds to fill that out, and a lot more people are likely to do that than many would think. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. All right, so with that all said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dorothy and Anita here.
Wow, Dylan, thanks for sharing your expertise. Guys, this was a lot of information. I hope you guys felt like this is stuff that can relate to your business and that you were thinking about your business and your consumers. To summarize, here are our takeaways. Number one, take a multi-channel approach. You want to be where your consumer is, and your consumer is browsing, searching, shopping while they're in bed. Well, even they're in the bathroom sometimes. So times have changed, you guys. I mean, take me for an example. I never subscribed to DoorDash till the pandemic happened. And now I like the convenience of it. So even though I live in kind of a hybrid world, I still like to go to my local business. If I have the convenience of shopping with them online, I'll do that. Provide a great experience to customers. So this is, again, how are you showing up? Are you making it easy for them to find you, to interact with you online? Utilize social to build a loyal and engaged following. Show your personality. What social medias are you on? And while you're on social media, are you participating, or are people just engaging with your brand, but they're not hearing back from you? And, we've talked about becoming mobile friendly. What does that mean? Is your website, is your website built so that people can access it easily on their mobile phones? Is it when they pull up your website, do they see a big coupon and everything else behind it is covered so that they're not able to browse easily? Is their mobile experience convenient? There are many different points when it comes to making your website mobile friendly, and we're happy to discuss that with you. But pay attention to how your website is showing up online, on mobile. Make the most of digital. I mean, it's here. There's a lot of things that you are doing in the offline world, you were doing in the offline world, and a lot of those same business models, you want to take it online because your consumers are online. And then with your digital marketing campaigns, Dylan was talking about how digital marketing allows you to measure your marketing plans and strategies, measure and evaluate them and then tweak them and then try a new method. It is so enlightening, or it's so nice when you're able to craft a marketing plan and you can see how your customers are responding. We work with a lot of local businesses, and since the pandemic, even more so, we doubled our efforts with some of our existing clients that were already working with us, and we saw significant growth in each of their campaigns. Obviously, they're from different industries, so you require different strategies. But we also saw some new clients that came aboard because this year they weren't able to go to a trade show, and that was a loss of $15,000 for them. So our challenge was, how do we help you win digitally? And all of that obviously starts with thinking of your goal, creating a target market. But then once you launch a campaign, measuring and evaluating that and understanding how your customers are behaving. Next, building specific audiences. This is going back into, thinking about, hey, do I have two or three separate audiences that interact with my business? Maybe there's one that is in the millennial category, another one, that is in the baby boomer category. How do they behave? What do they do? Who are these people? Think about their personas. And after you think about that, incorporate that into your digital marketing plans. Of course, we talked about improving your website. Your website is your online storefront. It's not just enough that people find you on Google. After they find you, are they bouncing off your website? Or are they staying, and are they going deeper and deeper into your website? That's what you want. Are they finding what they came for? You want to look at that. Things like, are you making their checkout process easy, or are people going, well, I was going to buy that, but you've made it so complicated, I'm not interested anymore. So look at that. And then finally, competition. When your competition isn't there, opportunity is there for you. So if you know that, hey, my competition is not taking advantage of this, that's opportunity, because you can now get in front of that vast audience. So that's really it, you guys. I hope that you will take everything that you've heard today and think about your own businesses and think about how you can move forward. Dorothy.
Oh, okay. Well, last night I was trying to put this into perspective of how I would speak about this. And I'm streaming some show, which I don't need to name. And I'm also shopping. I'm shopping for my granddaughter's first birthday. So I'm planning her party, helping to plan her party. And I thought, oh, this is how I could put it into a great perspective for you. Having a Facebook or a social media presence is great, but is it enough? I liken it to a party. So you don't just open your door and say, oh, I'm going to have a party. You have to invite people in. You have to get your house in order. So getting your house in order means getting your website in order, or your Facebook page, or your social media platforms in order. Are they optimized? Is there correct messaging on there? So think of a party. I need a playlist. I need a theme. Is your branding correct, etc. Then you think about, who do you need to invite? Who needs to sit at your table? Well, there's no quarantine online. That's everyone. So think about that. Who is your target audience, and how can you reach them? You're going to send out invites. Is that email targeting, marketing? I want you to think about how exactly you can reach your customers, and we can help you do that. We can be your party planners.
I like that. The polka dot twins.
We can be the polka dot twins, yes. And then also, it's not about just having the party. It's getting them to come back. You want to keep having that party.
Yeah.
The polka dot twins.
With that, we'll open it up to questions.
Yes, great. Wonderful presentation. There's so much information. I do want to share with everyone. We are going to share the slides with everyone online. So we'll email those out to you here later today. And this presentation, again, is recorded. Will be up on our website here within a few days too, and on our Kalispell Chamber YouTube channel. So definitely a way for everybody to access that information, all these great nuggets about how everything's changing so quickly. We have a couple of good questions here, and I'd like to share. One of them here said, Dylan had shared an interesting data point about YouTube. I know here in Montana, we often struggle with bandwidth. I've been dropped off this session 2 to 3 times already this morning. Perhaps Dorothy can weigh in on our potential for broadband in some of the more rural areas of the Flathead. It makes it awfully challenging to do digital marketing if you and some of your customers can't easily and consistently get online. Great question.
Great question. Dylan, do you want to chime into this, and then Dorothy will...
So yeah, one thing I would kind of want to chime in on this is So there's a difference between streaming and then just general like searching and whatnot. So if you're targeting specific people, maybe in an area that doesn't have as great of internet access, like those are like, if that's your target audience as well in those specific areas, you might want to focus on things more like Google ads, things like that, because a web page takes a lot less to load than maybe video advertising does, because it just requires less bandwidth in general. And then you're also looking at things like phone service being probably the most popular in terms of loading those web pages goes.
Okay, great. Great. Well, we have another question here too, relating to if you are a small business with a small team, where is the best bang for your buck? If you're only doing one thing, if you're doing just one thing, what would you recommend?
We love this question. So everything starts with your goal. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? A lot of the times you have to think about your marketing in terms of phases, right? You think about the consumer journey, and that will answer, along with your goal, will answer, okay, where should I meet them first? Perhaps your goal is brand awareness. You know, before you do something that tells people, okay, buy my stuff, they need to know about you. Or maybe your consumers are at a stage where they are considering buying you. That will help educate you in terms of, okay, well, now they're initiating this search. Now they're in control. Where can I show up? For instance, let's take, for an example, financial services industry, right? Maybe you're a bank. Maybe you've been an establishment for a while, but you're trying to discover a new audience and trying to connect with them. Maybe they haven't heard about you. So, you know, it might make sense to do some display advertising in several different platforms. And, you know, again, depending on where you are, you want to think about geography and you want to set your parameters for your audience. And then once you've collected the data and you know, okay, the people that I want to reach out to know about me now. Okay, now let's add another thing to this mix, or perhaps change directions and show up on Google after you've done the display or along with display advertising. Typically, we recommend doing 2 or more solutions together because they work really well in terms of solidifying your brand and creating that familiarity with audiences. So then now your new audiences are going online, not just doing any general search, but more so looking for your brand name. So really, to answer that question, I love that question. It's a sit down, let's talk. It starts with your goal, your budget.
You know, and I want to go back really quick with that question as far as broadband. I can answer to that a little bit. I know in my previous position at MWED, we honestly were working actively to increase broadband, to help increase broadband. It wasn't our job to increase broadband, but it was our job to help push that effort, I guess is the way I should say it. It's still happening, hasn't been abandoned. The best thing to do is to get involved because you can see the shift. That's where we're moving. We are moving more towards digital. We always have been, but COVID-19 really made this happen exponentially, and it is where we are going, and that needs to be on the forefront of people's minds.
Right, yeah.
Thank you guys, fantastic questions, great answers and information. Looks like that is the wrap up on the questions. So I'll just wrap up today's program. Once again, want to thank Hagadone, Media Montana, and Dorothy and Anita and Dylan for the great presentation. Again, we'll send these slides out to everyone. Couple of things I'd like to update everybody on real quick. For the Chambers side, we do have a ribbon cutting tomorrow at the new Water's Edge Winery, and also it's their grand opening tomorrow. So if you haven't been there yet, I encourage you to, if you have a chance, to swing by either tomorrow or in the future and check them out. Really a wonderful addition to town. We will have our next Thinking Thursday coming up on October 22nd, presented by Univision Computers. Their topic is going to be about how to, hold on here, I've got my notes here, utilizing the tools that your business already has to connect and improve the productivity of your remote workplace. Things like accessing your computer files remotely, method for remote managing and onboarding remote workers, and managing a remote workforce. So a lot of things that we've all transitioned to very quickly, and for some businesses might actually be here to stay in some fashion in the future. So really is going to be fantastic content information, 8:30 in the morning on Zoom on October 22nd. Also want to remind everyone that the Kalispell Chamber's biggest annual event, the grand event, which is our annual banquet, is going online this year. It's still going to be November 12th. And is still sure to be just super exciting, super fun. We'll have more information coming up online about that. But we will still be doing the award presentations, remarks from our incoming new CEO, who's going to be joining us, as well as Joe's remarks as he is wrapping up here at the Chamber as well. And we'll also have our fabulous auction. So it's definitely something you don't want to miss. We'll start at 4:30 p.m. on November 12th. And like I said, we'll be about a 45 to 50-minute online program, and stay tuned for more details. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for being here today, joining the program. Thank you all again for a wonderful presentation, and I hope you all have a fantastic day. Take care.
Jen, we have just one more thing.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. We have an incentive.
Oh, yeah.
We want to thank everyone for coming, and as a gesture of gratitude, we are offering a free marketing analysis to those who attended.
Yes, so if you get in touch with us, we will be doing an audit of your online presence and kind of let you know where you can win and where you're doing great. So thank you for being here today.
We didn't plan this, but we can plan your digital marketing.
Polka Dot Twins.
Fantastic. And we will actually, when we send out the presentation, it does have Anita and Dorothy's contact information in there again too. So if you're interested in that, you can reach out to them, or with any other questions. I know they would be happy to be of assistance. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Have a great day.